Okay. So really, my background was heavily golf instruction and TPI and things like that, and I always wanted to be different than the guy coaching at the next club. So that's why I went and did TPI. I did some other kind of certifications and stuff, and obviously did BodiTrak, which is why we're kind of talking and things. And um, then it got to the point where everyone was doing like TPI. Everyone was like no one was being different. And obviously, you watch the videos that like guys like Pete did and Rick did and Mark Crossfield did. I thought I can do that. You know what I mean? I thought these guys haven't got anything that I haven't really got. So I thought I'll have a go at it. I'll put my personality into it, and I'll try and drive golf lessons kind of that way. For me, it's done what I wanted it to. I can, if I want to fill a diary up of golf lessons now, I can. Fortunately and unfortunately, it's probably worked a little bit too well in that the videos now, from a business standpoint, I can get a better return doing videos and doing almost like going down a marketing route, which is great. Like I've been really lucky to go to some fantastic places for that and film some great golf courses and stuff. And like we said, kind of right at the introduction, I've actually tried physically to get back into my coaching a little bit more and really kind of enjoying it again. So I didn't think it'd get to be the size it's at, but now it is. Kind of you get a bit of a thirst for wanting to make it bigger. So all in all, like really sort of fell into it a little bit. Um, yeah.
When you first started making content, did you have like a specific like niche that you were trying to tap into, or were you just kind of like all over the place and trying to figure out what worked the best or what you enjoyed the most?
My golden rule is if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it because I do this for me and I do it because I enjoy it. So like if you watch any of the videos, you'll know that I only really work with my friends. So I work with Mark, who's my kind of mid-handicap guy we've been filming today. I've known Mark years. Foxy, we were best friends at school since we were kids. Chris, who I met on the PGA training, and we're best mates. We go out for far too many beers far too often. And yeah, just I wanted to put my own spin on because I think like whenever I go out, I'm always laughing with people, and people are always laughing with me. And I thought, well, if that's generally the case, then maybe a wider audience would laugh with me vicariously through a camera, and that's generally what happens. Like, I never take the content too seriously. I never think, oh, this has to be even the instructional stuff. I never think it has to be maybe as professionally made as me and my golf, who make good, enjoyable instructional content. But you're not going to sit there and chuckle at them or laugh at them. Whereas I'm quite comfortable for people to absorb information and learn, but then also laugh at me as well and laugh with me as well. And I think there is a place for it, to be fair. I think there's a place where people want to be not only educated, but also entertained.
And there's so many different, creators out there that were also instructors. Did you take anything from them that you were like, ooh, I like what they just did, I'm gonna steal that, or I'm gonna go and try to kind of do something similar to it?
Yeah, obviously. So the mid handicap videos I do with Mark, obviously that was nothing new. Rob, who did the mid handicap stuff for Rick, I know Rob really well. I just thought that worked. Well, there's no way, especially doing daily content like I do. I don't think I've missed a day for like nearly 2 years. And you would soon, I would get bored if it was just me, and the people watching would get bored if it was just me. So how can I? Because initially, obviously, club reviews were very searchable, which I don't think is the case anymore because that many people do them. I think I was doing all these club reviews and I thought, well, what do people want to see? And in the comments, everyone was saying, well, we don't care how you hit it because I'm a very average golf pro, but I'm a golf pro. And they want to see that kind of 12, 13 handicapper hits it, see what he thinks, see how he feels about it. So obviously that was very much inspired, if you like, by what Rick was doing with Rob. And I think Mark's now doing a similar thing as well, taking people out and more so trying to improve the game than reviewing clubs with them. But the funny thing about YouTube is nothing's new. Like, if I do a video reviewing a Titleist driver there or a tailor-made driver, that'll be done 20, 30, 40 times. If I do a video instructing someone how to stop slicing a golf ball, that'll be done 80, 90, 100 times, probably that week. If you do a video within like a week of someone doing one, then all of a sudden, like, you're copying people. And like, I never really get that. Like, I'll hold my hands up, like, especially with the mid-handicap thing. You take an idea and you put your spin on it. And to me, that's just YouTube. I think a lot of people come to the space and don't necessarily understand that. They think that there's room for one person to do something with their spin on it and then that's it. Whereas all successful people on the platform just take ideas and put their spin on them. Often you might have a unique idea and they're the ones that do really well. But it's all, like, so much of it's being done, you've just got to put your own spin on it and your own personality into it more than anything, I think.
Yeah. And I can see that you got like a shit ton of golf clubs behind you.
I
have a lot of them. And I know that with, like, you know, in previous jobs I've worked with influencers and creators of various types, you know, like even just like a fashionista who just gets like, she does like clothing reviews or clothing hauls. They usually get like a lot of free stuff. They just get stuff from companies shipping them. So do you just have companies sending you golf balls and clubs and
yeah, I mean, if I kind of move you around there, you see that it kind of continues a bit, but it's more like, I wouldn't say I get them free because often, like, these will go back eventually.
Yeah.
Kind of loaned out, I would say, probably for the content. Like, it's almost like a win-win because I always give a totally honest opinion on things, which I get. And then the brands obviously get people looking at them and they almost kind of take the gamble that I'm going to like it. Like, often I've done negative reviews on something, which is a personal opinion at the end of the day. And people in the comments are like, why have you bothered doing this review if you don't like it? And I'm like, well, a review works two ways. Like, I can give you a positive review and I can give you a negative review. If I do a positive video on every product I ever get sent, that's then, as you call it, an infomercial or an advert. And sometimes when I do an honest review, like a positive review, people complain and say, well, this was just a massive advert. And I'm like, well, I can't really win, because unless you just want me to say that everything's bang average, then the content would be redundant and it'd be pointless. But yeah, it drives the girlfriend mental because there's that much stuff. This is my like little office at home and it's just full of shit, to be fair. So.
I mean, it could be worse. I mean, you could definitely be filling your apartment hoarding stuff that's not golf related in your apartment.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Could be collecting. Could be collecting anything. Couldn't we, to be fair? We'll not deviate from the conversation too much there.
So I wanted to back up a little bit. So when when you started out, when you started doing YouTube, what did you have to teach yourself? Like, what were things that you had to learn over time, or did you kind of had some skills built up that made it a lot easier to transit? Well, I wouldn't say transition, but kind of like get started and get going in that whole world.
For me, I had to learn how one of these worked. I had to learn how the laptop works. I didn't know how to film. I didn't know how to edit. So much so that I bought my first camera, which is somewhere up here. So I bought my first camera there, and I took it home, and I was like, "Oh, right, so I'll start now." And I knew that little about cameras. I didn't realise that you had to buy an SD card for it. I had no idea. So I started filming, and then it said, "Oh, no card." And I was like, "No card?" And yeah, so that was the extent of my knowledge in that sense. Like, now I'm a bit of a camera geek. Like, I've had to learn about them, and then probably overloaded on it a bit. I still use iMovie to edit on, which is like a free thing you can get on your MacBook.
Yeah,
it works for me. Like, a lot of people say that production quality isn't good enough and stuff, but I'll never be that. I don't want to make content that's going to take me 3 days to edit a video. I've got no interest in that because my mind won't concentrate on that video for long enough to be bothered about that. And that's why I do daily videos, because for me, it keeps me like thinking all the time about what I want to do, what can I do today, how can I do this. I can edit it pretty much in like an hour or 2 hours and throw it out and then move on to the next thing, really. Regards to like skills for YouTube, I think the big thing was learn that not everyone's going to like you. And that's more difficult than what a lot of people will make out. Like, so at the moment, I've got 130,000 people following you. The majority of those people either like you or like the content or like the fact that you review products or things like that. Sometimes people get on your back, even though they follow you, and like, oh, that video was shit. And I mean, if in a week, if you give out 7 videos, if someone likes 4 of them, then I feel like I've done a good job. I think you can't please everyone. And then there's the people who don't follow you and absolutely hate you. Well, I don't know. Like, you've very much got to learn that. I heard this on a podcast recently, actually, where the people who love you and the people who hate you are equally as important. And that was one of the best things I heard, because I do it for me, and any YouTube creator will tell you that they do it for themselves. But if you get sucked into how many people love you as opposed to how many people hate you, it's really bad for your mental health. So you've just got to carry on doing what you enjoy while you're enjoying it, and not listen too much to the people who are happy with it, but also not listen too much to people who aren't very happy with it. That's probably the biggest skill that you have to have. Probably thick-skinned.
Yeah, and like I someone who I really enjoy is Bill Simmons, sports writer and podcaster. He said something like, I don't know if it was like a year ago, 2 years ago. He basically said he stopped looking at his Twitter mentions like 6 or 7 years ago, and he hasn't looked at them since. And he said it just completely changed his peace of mind and his mental health, because he wasn't seeing all of the, someone like him who has as many opinions and takes as he does, and someone who's been around the sports world as much. Of course, he's going to find people that are not going to enjoy what he says. And he said he's basically cut them out. He doesn't even look at the good ones. He just got rid of all of them. And the only people that he can like see are people that he follows or people that he has relationships with, that they follow each other. So I always found that interesting. I know someone who did a YouTube video where she only read the mean comments.
Yeah.
They were so awful. She was just like, they were like all sexually related.
Yeah.
And she was going through them, and they were just talking about, just like the worst things you can think of. And her face was just flabbergasted the entire time.
The thing is, that's almost like a cry for attention. And like on Instagram, I often, if I find one, to be honest, I don't do the nasty ones. I do the ones where I just feel a little bit sorry for the person who's commented that. And then I'll like reply and say, look, mate, I know everyone's going through a shit time at the moment, so you've obviously had a bad day. Like, if I can help you anyway, let me know. Then they get even angrier at that because they feel like you're belittling them. But like because I did say, well, I failed psychology at A-level, but one of the things that I did take from it was there's a reason behind everyone's behavior. And if someone, actually really interesting, I had a conversation with Sean Foley in Dubai, and this kind of backed up what I was thinking. And so what he said was every person and their attitude is a mirror towards another person. Let's say if I look at you now, and you have, what's the symbol on your hat? What is that?
It's there's a minor league baseball team in Hartford, Connecticut called the Hartford Yard Goats.
Okay.
And so they do this. I think a lot of minor league baseball teams do this like Day of the Dead themed game. And so they take it's like a Spanish version of the Hartford Yard Goats. It's like Los Chivos de Hartford. And it was just kind of a cool logo.
So like, say if I was really conscious about my hat, and I didn't really like my hat, I'd say, Ben, your hat's shit. I hate your hat. It's rubbish. Why would you wear that stupid hat? And I'm not talking about your hat. I'm talking about my hat.
Yeah.
And that's like such a strange thing, in that someone will comment on a YouTube channel and go, James, you're fat. And I'm like, well, they probably am. Yeah, you're right. But they're probably sat there at 18 stone. And then they're not unhappy that I'm fat, because I don't care that I'm fat. They care that they're fat, but they've had a bad day, so they're going to call it me. And that's where, like, and again, going back to being thick-skinned and that, I know this podcast isn't going to all be about like internet trolls and stuff, but like on my Instagram, I often put them on my stories because I just find it hilarious. Towards the end, they get that mad, I have to block them. Like, I had death threats not long ago, just because like I tried to be quite nice with someone and say, look, mate, if you're going for a hard time, I'm sure there's a number you can bring, kind of thing.
That's yeah, it's something I can't ever think about is getting death threats. That just seems like how did you handle them? Did you just kind of ignore them and just move on, or did you not take them too seriously, or what was your mindset going when you got?
Yeah, I didn't take it seriously at all, to be honest. It was if someone wants to come and do me over for a YouTube video, then you know, what I mean, have a go. It's such a strange world, isn't it? Where you can say that, and the people who do stuff like that is the people who have no name on the channel and no picture and stuff, and so there's no consequence for them initially, is there?
Yeah, gotcha. So I mentioned earlier that there seems to be a large amount of British or in like golf related content creators and YouTubers based out of the UK,
Yeah.
and even some of the big ones. And so my question is, do you guys tend to collaborate a lot to each other and with each other? And is there any kind of rivalry or competition going on between the lot of you? Is there like you see something that maybe Peter Finch did and you're like, oh man, I could do that better? Or is there like something that he did, or is there any kind of like probably some friendly competition going on?
Yeah. We don't collaborate really at all. It's a really funny one. I mean, I do videos with like Liam from Golf Mates and a guy called Tubes. I don't know if you watch him over in the US. That's like he does a show called Soccer AM, like on Sky here, and then he's done a golf channel, and we really had fun filming together and stuff. And some of the bigger guys, I don't know, like I almost feel like they're probably too busy, which is fine. Like I'll never. One thing I'll say as well is that I get so many DMs and emails saying, "Oh, James, can we come and do a video? Should we collab? Should we?" And the general theme of the email is, "Let's help me build a channel from scratch." And like you have to be quite not brutal, but you have to just be honest and say, "Look, this is my job. Like, I would love to come and play golf with you at some point, but if I said yes to everyone who says, James, can we do a collab and you help me build a channel?" Which no one did for me, to be fair. I to kind of build it from myself. I wouldn't have a channel because it would just be every day. Like, oh, here's Tim, he's starting a channel. Here's Ben, he's starting a channel. This is Tom. Tom started a channel last week. He's got 10 subscribers. It's very difficult to then do your own thing and not just be the guy who's helping people grow. And I remember doing that. I remember like tweeting like Pete and Rick and Mark, like, oh, let's do something because it'd be really fun. And for me, it would have been really fun. For them, it's like, well, you've got to do your hard yards. You've almost got to like earn that collaboration because, and you've not done anything. You've like waltzed in, you've bought a camera that you don't know how to put an SD card in, and then you want to do a video, and it's like, I sort of get, well, I definitely get why there was no response at the time, and probably still no response now because it doesn't add up for them to warrant the time, and I think that's fine. Like, and it comes back to what we said earlier on. Like, I only work with my mates, and I really enjoy it. Like, I'll work with Liam. Me and Liam went to the Masters a couple of years ago, and had a week in Florida as well, and we had a right good time. We had a right laugh. So I class Liam as a mate now, mind the pun, with this channel called Golf Mates. So it would be a big thing for me, I think, to want to work with someone who wasn't a friend or just someone I wanted to spend time with, because I think it would show in the content. Like if me and Pete did a video, for example, and the chemistry wasn't there, and you were literally both just doing it because it made sense, like analytically wise, it would be a total waste of time. The audience would hate it, and the audience would know as well, like straight away. That's why Rick and Pete still do the videos together, because they're mates and friends. So I think it's a shame for the kind of YouTube golf community, as it were. Like, I don't dislike anyone, and I like to think that most people don't dislike me in the community because I just keep myself to myself. I think if you were kind of calling people out for the videos and stuff, and that's when you start to alienate yourself amongst the community. So yeah, to answer your question, we don't really collab as much as other other genres on YouTube, because I know that like I watch a lot of like car YouTube and like tech YouTube, and they're always together, aren't they? They're always together trying to help each other push. And the golf world's never been like that. I don't think it ever will be like that, and I don't particularly mind. Like if you tried to become friends with these people and it paid off and you've got a new friend, then fantastic. But if it didn't, then you would probably just resent each other. So that's it. Yeah, that's really it.
Gotcha. And so do you have, when you do make videos, do you have a set schedule per week that you're like, all right, I need to go out and film? Or do you constantly have your camera with you in case you can get something that you didn't expect to happen, or maybe you're in a situation that you didn't expect to be in that you think would be really good footage?
I always have the camera with me because I'm usually going to a golf. I like live and breathe golf. It's quite pathetic, really. But even like when we go on, I call it a holiday. We never really go on holiday, but whenever we go away, I always take the camera with me. I always take like the drone with me and stuff. And I do this because I enjoy it. So I never schedule really anything unless it's with other people, with friends. So like me and Chris have the Short Game Saturday series, and all we say is, let's get together on Monday, let's film it, or let's film two. That gives us the week to edit it, and then that's ready for Saturday. What we won't do is like wait till Friday or Saturday morning and then film and edit it in the same day and try and rush it out, because then it shows in the content in the video. So it's about not stressing yourself out with it, really. Like doing daily content, a lot of people say, oh, it must be difficult. And it can be if you let it stress you out. But I can go and film 3 videos in a day. So on a Monday, I can film 3 videos. On a Tuesday, I can stay at home in here in the office and edit those 3 videos. All of a sudden, that's 3 days' work done in 2 days. Then you're a day in front and you're a day ahead. So if you do that a couple of times a week and you get 3 or 4 days ahead, I'll have 3 days off, I'll have 4 days off, and then kind of start the cycle again. Probably,
And
I know a
sorry,
lot of, no, so I know a lot of other people probably do structure things more, but I'm not a structured person. Like you look at the state of my office and like, I try so hard to keep it tidy, and it's just a shit tip. And that's basically like my scheduling, and I try so hard to keep a schedule, I just can't do it.
gotcha. And so when you do carry the camera around, do you ever get looks from other people that may just be playing around a golf and they're just like, oh, it's
All the time, and quite a lot of comments as well, which is funny. Like I had a comment with a member at the club I work at, and this was like before it really took off. Like I was doing it full time, I was earning like okay money from it, and I was quite like happy with myself. So walking through the car park, just like kind of talking and going, and someone actually stopped me and said, "Are you still walking around with that stupid camera?" And I was like, I kind of turned the camera off, and I was like, what's your job? What do you do? And he went, oh, I'm a manager at so and so. And I went, so when you go into your office and you start writing stuff down, do you want me to barge in and just go, are you still writing with that stupid pen? Because that's essentially what you've just done to me. And he went, yeah, but it's stupid, isn't it? It just look ridiculous. I was like, if one person thinks I look ridiculous, then that's, a lot of people probably think we look ridiculous when we do it. I think it's more seen now, isn't it? The one place where I probably do get awkward, or I'm awkward, is in the airport. So I used to try and do a few videos in the airport when you're traveling. So I was traveling a lot, and like people honestly look like you swinging a dead dog round or something, like walking through the airport. They look at you horrified. So all you're doing is filming yourself. But more and more people do it, don't they? So I suppose one day it will be a normal thing. Well, not a normal thing, but
yeah. And I think with like the rise of TikTok, it's even more prevalent because I mean, just recently I was at a winery with some friends and we were just kind of looking down this, like we were up on this hill and we looked down and there's just this couple where the boyfriend is just dancing, and out of context, he looks like a psychopath because he's just dancing and there, you don't hear any music, but of course
yeah,
you go up near him. And we walked up to him, we were walking down to where they were and we were just wondering, like, you guys making a TikTok? And they're just like, yeah, is it that noticeable? And we're like, I mean, you're kind of doing it and like there's no cover and
yeah,
everybody on this large hill can see you dancing just randomly without music and without context. You just kind of look like a lunatic. But it's becoming more and more.
yeah. I mean, if they're happy with that and they're comfortable with
Yeah.
that, like that shouldn't make other people uncomfortable, should it? Like,
No.
I just think in our like society today, just let people do what they want to do.
Oh yeah.
Like, it doesn't. Me holding a camera didn't affect that guy in the car park. Him stopping me doing what I was doing affected me. So why let it do that kind of thing? But
Yeah. I
I
mean,
suppose that's more of a social media thing, isn't it? Than
yeah. And like even recently, like I was on TikTok and there was this girl that was doing a dance in Target. And there was literally a person, she was dressed up in like this like costume, like a Halloween costume doing a dance. And there was literally a woman standing behind her, just looking at a shelf, not at all phased, just going about her business. And you could just see her clearly. And she's just like, yep, I'm gonna grab my thing. And then like 2 feet in front of her is this person who just has like a ton of followers, has like 800,000 followers on TikTok, but is doing this dance inside of this costume with a mask on. And she's just like, yep, okay, cool. And she just went about her life. Whereas like if that was 5 years ago, I mean, you probably have like a crowd of people or
yeah,
someone to go and tell somebody who works at Target and be like, hey, someone's doing something weird. They're like
yeah,
doing a random dance and maybe they get asked, it's like, oh yeah, maybe you should move because you're blocking, foot traffic or something.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I guess now, like you said, people have become so used to it that it's just a part of our daily lives. So yeah,
yeah,
it is kind of funny. It is kind of interesting. But I know how golf is, and you get to some parts and you always get some curmudgeons who are more old school, and they'd rather be like, oh, that's so strange that someone's carrying a camera onto the course and filming something.
yeah.
So I just want to fast forward to, well, it's not really fast forwarding, but it's kind of backing up to the last couple of months because the world has been somewhat upended
Mm-hmm.
by a weird disease. And this is kind of like a two-part question. Has COVID affected, and shelter-in-place orders and the lockdowns, has that affected your golf instruction in that business, and has it affected, and how has it affected that and your YouTube creation and YouTube videos and getting content and shooting footage?
I think it's definitely affected both. Even now, like teaching a lesson's very different. You can't, like, sounds ridiculous, you can't touch someone. So the amount of times you're giving a golf lesson and you just want to help them with the posture a tiny bit to help them feel something, you just want to kind of move the shaft for them a little bit to help them feel a position. You can't do any of that now, so it probably makes it a little bit more difficult. I definitely saw a rise in online instruction when we were all locked down and stuff like that, and that been a long day, sorry. And that was a business that I kind of went into a little bit, but then just struggled to keep up with it really. Like it was, I love teaching lessons and I can do 10 lessons a day, but 10 online lessons a day, sat here like kind of looking at them, and that's like a totally different thing. And I'll still do them, but I'll definitely monitor how many bookings I take and things like that. Regards to the YouTube stuff, obviously, I'm quite proud of myself. I didn't miss a day like during this year. I haven't missed a day, and that's now a target for me to be able to say during the pandemic I didn't miss a day. I don't know why. It just kind of keeps me motivated, I suppose. I had to change the content a lot. So like when I heard we were going into lockdown, I think I filmed 20 videos in a week, or maybe even 30 videos in a week. Then the lockdown lasted longer than that, and I had to do stuff from home. So I did a video where I made the back garden into like a little golf course. Then a company called Lad Bible, which here in I don't know if it's just massive here. Is it big in America, Lad Bible?
Yeah, it's so we had one when I was in college called Bro Bible,
Yeah,
and it's kind of similar. And I actually have been seeing more and more Lad Bible stuff via social media and TikTok and
yeah,
Instagram. I see videos shared all the time.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, they have like 50 million followers, or maybe
yeah,
even more. And they like emailed and said, "Oh, this is really cool. Can we have it and like chop it up?" So I let them do that, and that got millions of views. And I didn't really see anything off the back of that. Like when that happened, I thought, oh, might get like another couple of thousand followers that day or something. And I think very rarely do people transfer to the actual content that was on. But it was really cool. Like it was good that people take note, and all your mates message you and say, "Oh, Lad Bible have shared this," and yeah, it was interesting. And then it was actually a harder transition to go back to normal content once lockdown had finished, but it was to kind of move into at home content. I suppose at home content, you didn't really have a choice. If you wanted to continue making videos, you had to do them from home. Some of them, like I thought I'd like deviated it quite well, and I thought I'd kept it fairly diverse. Some of the videos were probably shit, but when you're just doing your best, aren't you? Just doing what you can do. Then when you go back to like a normal everyday doing normal videos, it was the first week was a bit weird. Like it felt, I don't know, it felt more difficult. I think I'm over it now, but so definitely affected on both the points you raised there, really.
Have you seen, I've been reading, and we see things all the time, that there's been this surge in golf popularity, both in equipment sales and lessons and all these different things. Every person we talk to is, what's it like at your club? What's it like with your instruction? And everybody says, it's, our driving range is packed. The lessons are, booked for months ahead. Has there been, I think there was something I read where the golf equipment sales have been the highest in the last 6 months in like over a decade.
Yeah.
Have you seen a surge in, subscribers, or a surge in a surge in views, or just a surge in lessons alone on your end of the pond? Is it as popular there as it is here?
Yeah, not so much a surge. I think the whole momentum of my channels just kind of gradually, like a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up again, a little bit down again, a little bit up again, and it's never really just gone like a massive leap up. That might be because when, like you said, you can't get on. Oh, hold on 1 second. Do you want to say hello to the dog? He's here now. Just say hello. All right.
What kind of, is that a doodle?
Cockapoo, yeah. He'd be annoyed if I didn't let him on. So the surge in golf is people playing golf and like going to the driving range. So like golf courses here you couldn't get on. Driving ranges still now that went to we go to the Pete Cowan driving range, which is fairly local to us, and like top and bottom deck just full. You couldn't get on even now. So I think people are almost getting the golf fix on the golf course and on the driving range. And I'll be interested to see what happens when like the depths of winter hit and we only get 5-6 hours daylight. Maybe then that will transfer to people obviously searching on Google and searching on YouTube, and like new products coming out which people are getting excited about. So that might see a little surge, but definitely not anything like a massive spike. And I think that counts for most people. So I don't think anyone's really seen a huge spike because of what's happened, apart from hopefully golf courses and golf clubs and driving ranges, which is where the industry needs to keep progressing.
Yeah. Okay. So what's like the craziest thing that you filmed, or what's the craziest thing you've attempted to film? And has there been anything that was happening in real time, and while it was happening, you're like, I wish I had my camera. This is perfect. This is pure gold.
Yeah. So the craziest thing I've filmed with Titleist in Abu Dhabi, we filmed a video with a golf ball with no dimples on it. So it still had like the 4-piece construction. It still had the urethane cover. It just had no dimples, and that was quite cool to see, like on TrackMan and just visually in the air. I also shaved down a driver face in lockdown with a belt sander, which was quite just probably ridiculous, really. It was funny though. And then, in regards to something happening, I did do you do beat the pros over there? So like a pro standing on a par 3 tee, hit a shot, the group comes through and they all try and get closer, don't you?
Not that I've seen. I mean, it may be a thing. I've just never done it.
Yeah, we kind of do them for charity over here. So like if it's a big golf day, for instance, I stood on a par 3 tee and I hit first, and then they all like put £5 in, and if they get closer, then they get a box of balls or something. The money goes to charity. I did that last summer, and the first, so I've teed off, hit it to a couple of feet. I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna be a good day. This first person that hit got a hole in one. So I was like, right, no camera there, no nothing, and that, like, to me would have been such great content if cameras were set up. Obviously, if cameras were set up, he might have felt differently, and he might not have hit the hole in one. But yeah, it was a shame that no one was there to really see that, apart from the people in the group, really. I don't think anything else has really happened, because I always have the camera with me or on me. And obviously on a golf course, things very rarely just come out of the blue, do they?
And then, okay, so my last kind of question around kind of your channel and everything like that is, if you had to advise a person who was, a new subscriber or someone who saw your videos for the first time, what would be the one that you would recommend? What would be like the one video that you would want them to watch to kind of get the best feel of you and what your channel's about?
That's a really good question. Probably, you know what? Probably the speed golf video I did last week. I did I'll not ruin it for people if they do want to go and watch, but I did a video where I ran around a golf course carrying a bag. So I timed myself and holed out on every hole. So I shot a score and had a time. And like I enjoyed that so much doing it, and I think the video came out really well. It was funny. It was funny if it's not done the views of like a ball review or a club review, which is always a shame. I thought it might have done quite well. But yeah, that was just like quite fun, and Foxy was there as well, filming it and doing the odd joke on my behalf. And I think probably, you know what, probably anything with either me and Foxy or me and Chris in, just because we are who we are and like we don't take anything out. We don't swear on it because that can it can offend people, can't it, and stuff. But apart from that, we just leave everything in, and we'll have quite good banter between ourselves. And for me, that is who I am. Like I'm a golf professional. I'm a coach. I'm a YouTuber, but mainly I'm just like one of the lads who wants to have a bit of a laugh as well.
Awesome. And then just kind of switch gears a little bit. I came across you because I was deep in a wormhole for work, just looking for BodiTrak content. And then I came across the video that you did. So my question is, how did you find out about BodiTrak? How did you?
That video must be terrible as well because it was like one of the
It's
first.
a little old. It's a little dated.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to screen record at the time, so I remember putting the camera like up to the screen to get the data and stuff. But so like I mentioned right at the top of the podcast that when I was coaching a lot, I did TPI, I did a few other things, and me and Chris went to go and do TPI in Amsterdam, and that was run by Lance Gill. So we got talking to Lance, and like we just befriend most people, to be fair, because we just like we see the fun in some way you can be. Obviously, you're in Amsterdam, you're there for pretty much the weekend. So we like had a few beers and that, and Lance was like, "Oh yeah, we've got this BodiTrak and we're doing things with this, and if you want one, let me know." And I think Lance gave us like the TPI staff discount or something on it, or he emailed the guys at BodiTrak at the time to send us one through at like a bit of a discounted rate. And at the time, like I was a young assistant, didn't have much money, wanted to be doing things differently. I thought, I don't know anyone who does BodiTrak stuff. I don't know anyone who does pressure tracing. I don't know anyone who does shoe fitting and ridiculous things like that, which were ridiculous at the time because you just didn't. The technology was for hospital beds and pretty much hospital beds alone, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Now it's used for like fitting running trainers and all sorts, as you know. But and then I kind of really got deeply into it and did all the online courses with BodiTrak and like the Mark Blackburn stuff, and just really enjoy it, to be honest. And when people come for lessons now, like it's so much easier to show someone how they should feel than just like say, oh, you need to have 30% of weight on your back foot, you need to have 70% of weight at impact when you're moving through. It's like you can't tell someone that because they have no idea how to quantify it. Whereas with the BodiTrak, it was like, right, just do this, just look at this screen and do this, and then hit me a golf ball. And it's like so much quicker to teach. And I know that I think you're trying to kind of get people to use them more with themselves, aren't you? And for me, that's probably will be one of the most beneficial training aids you can do, because I'll hold my hands up. I haven't been on mine for a while myself because I haven't practiced much. But when I do, my game definitely sees a little bit of a kind of rise in performance because I simplify what I'm trying to do.
And what would be, in your opinion, what would be, either maybe the biggest fix or maybe like the number one thing that if you put somebody on a mat, what's the most consistent reason why you're putting them on a mat, and what's the most consistent fix that you're getting them, and that you're getting out of them using the pressure mat?
The most consistent issue I see with people's golf is weight transfer, and that's why I was so interested in the product itself. So obviously we don't got weight quite pressure transfer, don't we? But for people who are trying to keep it as jargon free as possible, weight transfer in a golf swing is massive. And so many times people top it, people thin it, people sometimes shank it because they load up well and then stay there and then throw everything at it and try and flick it up in the air. Being able to explain to someone how when your pressure moves towards the lead side in a rotational fashion will deliver the club better with better dynamic loft and with more club face control, and be able to show them that. So being able to hit a bad shot purposely, show them the trace of it backing up, then hit another shot, show them the trace of it moving forward, then hitting another shot and showing them the trace of it not only moving forward, but moving into your heel so that you've rotated properly. It's like that's basically a step by step of what a lot of my lessons were. That's why I can repeat it now a couple of years on so quickly. Like so many times it was, yep, do this, right now let's try this, let's get a weighted ball, let's get you to really feel it. And then like they would leave that. Very rarely does someone leave a golf lesson pure in it, like striking it really well. And like I think I'm okay with that because you have to practice it. As long as you've shown they can do it, then it's a case of productive practice. Whereas with the actual BodiTrak system, for me, I was getting people to hit a shot and then have 5 or 6 practice swings looking at the computer screen in front of them or the iPad screen in front of them, showing what the trace is doing. So there you're really building in a feeling of what you're trying to do. And then like I've always been a believer that you can't manipulate the club to be a consistent driver in the golf swing. You can move the body correctly and the club will just pass through the phases you want it to. And that's essentially what people are doing once they've used it.
And have you been able to, combine the use of the lessons being able to combine a BodiTrak mat with other maybe a launch mat or any other kind of products and pieces of technology that have now been so prevalent within the golf world?
I personally haven't, because I don't like overawing people with it. It's probably something that I might try to kind of link it with Flight Scope or link it with a few of the launch monitors. And like, I have had the discussion of how the trace will match the path quite often. So like with an iron, if you're moving your trace to your heel, chances are your path's going to be a little bit to the left, which is exactly what we want. And then the conversation goes on with kind of D-plane and stuff like that. Then with a driver, it's obviously different. You're trying to hit up on it, the trace is different. And then again, talking like launch angles, talking club paths. And I think being able to tell the whole story definitely helps, but it's not something that I've delved into too much, because I feel like a lot of the people who I've coached don't need to know that the swing path's 2.9 degrees to the left. They don't need to know it. As long as they do it consistently, I'm happy with them just doing that, because they might think I'm coming over the top, which is such an overused term. But actually, a lot of people do understand, but find it difficult to understand how a club has to move through a golf ball. And I don't need them to understand it. I need them to do it. So that's where I have to kind of dumb it down a little bit for them.
That's excellent. Thank you. So now I kind of want to just finish up with just a couple fun questions, just kind of quick fun questions. If you had to play golf you had to have like an ideal golf foursome, and it could be anybody you can think of. It could be like an athlete, it can be a celebrity, it can be a movie star, whoever you think, a musician, historical figure. Who would those three be? Like if you just had to go around and play a round of golf at any golf course you can think of, and you just want to have a really fun round of golf, who would those three be?
Probably put my dad in first, because we always have a good time playing. And then Tiger, just because it's Tiger. And then one more. Probably like I'm trying to think of like a footballer who would play. Maybe even like a Sir Alex Ferguson or something like that. Just to kind of, I imagine the debates you could all have and the conversation you could have would be quite cool. So yeah, go with that.
Awesome. And then I guess my last question would be is, because people have been in lockdown for months at a time, and some parts of the world are still under lockdown, some aren't. What did you consume? What did you binge? Did you binge any TV shows? Did you listen to any podcasts? What did you do to help you get through the months at a time that maybe you were stuck in your house?
Beer. I can only be honest.
You know what? I mean, I did it too. I drink a lot. We had there were so many breweries in Georgia and Atlanta where I live where they allowed for pickups, like curbside pickups.
Yeah.
So you would just go on the website and you would just order. And I know people that literally walked out or had like cases of beer just put in your car. And like they had like 40 cans of beer just put into their truck. And then like a week later, they're back. And I'm like, how are you consuming all of that?
Yeah.
If they are.
I'm doing a lot of running and stuff now to try and obviously, because if you drink loads of beer every day, you pile weight on, and that's what I did. So, just the problem here as well was we very rarely get good weather. We might get a few weeks of really good weather a year. When I say good weather, I mean like weather you'd go on holiday for and vacation for. And a couple of the weeks of the lockdown was just sit outside and get pissed, and that's basically what we did. Like, I'd film a video in the morning, I'd edit it for 2:00, and then just sit in the garden and have like loads of beer and FaceTime people. And it wasn't a problem, but it was just quite nice to relax and treat it as a bit of a holiday.
Nice. So I meant to ask this earlier, so I'll just go back and edit this and put it in earlier. But if you had, if you're instructing a new golfer who's just new to the world of golf, just maybe they picked it up during COVID, or maybe they picked it up like a year ago, they're looking into it. What advice would you give them? What would you tell them to take a lesson? Would you tell them to work on a certain drill? Would you tell them to go play around before they do anything? What would be your essential piece of advice to help them get hooked on the game?
I'd tell them to set realistic targets. I'd tell them to enjoy it and embrace how much of a difficult game it is. And I'd tell them, I think, go and get a lesson. I think you're right in that. And don't be ashamed. I've had a few people who come for lessons because they've just got into it. And a few of them were a little bit ashamed of saying like, oh yeah, I've only just got into it. Like one guy had never hit a golf ball. He'd seen the videos and like really fancied getting into it in lockdown and kind of built himself up. And quite cleverly, I thought, booked a golf lesson. At the end of his first lesson, he told me he'd never hit a golf ball before. And I was like, well, to be honest, pal, that information would have been really good at the start of the lesson. But he did really well. Like, I think he amazed himself how well he did. But I definitely would have treated the lesson differently. And I asked him about his like golf history and his golf past. And he definitely didn't tell me he'd never hit a ball before. But I think I would have definitely told him less so that he would have remembered more maybe, and like I said, notes and stuff on it, but remembered more and only had a couple of points to work on when he went to the driving range. And don't be ashamed of starting. So like the series we did with Foxy, Foxy often gets really like anxious on the first tee and quite nervous. And like I say to him, mate, we've all been there. Like I remember when we were down on the south coast and he missed his first tee shot, like missed the ball, and he literally just wanted to curl up and not play. And I was like, just hit it. It doesn't matter where it goes, just hit it. And then he hit it and it went okay, it went right probably. And he was like, oh, I hated that. Like that would put me off playing if I did that again. And I was like, well, we've all been there. We've all done it. I stone cold topped one today out the rough. And I've been playing 15, 16 years and I'm a professional. Everyone hits bad shots and everyone's been in the position where you've hit a bad shot or you've just started. So, and most people do understand.
Nice. And then where can people find you? Can you do you have anything coming up that you're excited about, that you're excited for people to see? And then where can people who want to find you on YouTube and find you on social media, where can they do so?
So obviously it's James Robinson Golf. Merchandise now available. Just James Robinson Golf on YouTube. Like if you want to watch what I feel like is fun golf content, if you want some tips and things like that, if you want product reviews, I think pretty much cover most of the things in the golfing world. I'm on Instagram as well. That's James Robinson Golf, I think, as well. I'm not as prevalent on there. I don't post as much on there. But yeah, the YouTube stuff's fun. If you want to go over and watch it, then by all means. And I know we have some plans as well, don't we, to to do some quite cool content with the mat and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, and what part of England are you based out of?
I always say Sheffield, but I'm not. I'm just north of Sheffield in Wakefield.
So is that your premier team, Sheffield United?
No, it's not. It's Man United, and I
Oh,
know a
wow.
lot. If we'd have said this at the beginning of the video, a lot of people would have turned off. But we're going through a bad time at the moment, so I don't want to talk about it. But I did have a season ticket for a very long time. So if anyone's like shouting at the screen now or the phone now, then yeah, I held a season ticket for a while. So
It makes you feel better. I like Leicester, and we I think we
you've
went.
won the
Wasn't
league. You've won the league since we after we have.
Well, I mean, like we had a little bit of an Icarus moment this year where we were like, top 3, top 4, and then I guess after the season like resumed, they just came out and just fell flat on their face, and
Yeah,
they were like, I was so excited. I have a friend who's a Chelsea fan,
that's
and
a shame.
what is that?
That's a shame.
I know. She's been one for much longer than he's been there, but I kind of was like, okay, I understand Christian Pulisic, who is the only good soccer player to ever come out of the United States on that level, is playing for them, is playing really well for them. But I was kind of talking shit to her like for months at a time, and then they came out of lockdown and they tripped over themselves and fell
Yeah,
down the queens.
yeah,
And Chelsea like leapfrogged them into the Champions Tour, and I'm just like,
yeah,
you kidding me?
yeah.
Here's my last question. That promises my last one. Champions are Premier League has been actually getting really, really big here. Surprisingly, so is Formula One. As Formula One's growing, I think it's because of that Drive to Survive series on Netflix.
Yeah.
But what would you say to a person who's interested in getting into Premier League? What would you tell them
Anyone,
to watch? What team?
anyone but United at this point, probably, and that's coming from a fan. So, I imagine Chelsea will be a big go for a lot of the Americans, won't it? Because of Pulisic and stuff like that. So, maybe that. I mean, we're owned by the Glazers, and yeah, not probably the least said about that, the better. I think really. They own. Is it the Tampa Bay?
So something like that. There's so much crossover between United States people who own like United States sports teams, professional sports teams here, and then also we own Premier League teams. I know.
LeBron James own part of Liverpool as well.
Yeah, he's involved with Liverpool, the Kroenkes, who own like the Los Angeles Rams, and actually they own like a ton of teams. They own like the Denver Nuggets and all these teams in Colorado, and then they also own, I think, Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then I think the guy who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars is somehow involved. He's British, and I just don't know his name. It's like something Khan. He's involved with some Premier League teams as well. So it seemed to have been a big investment opportunity, because I know the people that own, like LeBron is involved with Liverpool. I think the same group that owns the Red Sox are also involved.
It's a Fenway Sports Group.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like there had been some kind of crossover with like emotions and like history with Liverpool and the Red Sox, where both teams have been historically great, but they weren't great for such a long time. And now they're just consistently great.
Yeah.
So they put in the right people. Maybe that Fenway Sports Group, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't get United instead, but it's what it is.
Well, man, I appreciate you for jumping on this call with me. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.